Error formulas are actually very common, and you're going to run into these more and more as you build more advanced formulas because not everything goes the way you want it to go all the time. And that's perfectly okay. The biggest thing you need to know is how to deal with the error formulas, so that way if they do pop up, it doesn't ruin your day, you can simply fix it and move on. In this video, I'm going to show you how to handle the divide by zero error message, the NA error message, name, reference, value, formula parse errors, and missing data source. And there are more error messages out there, but these are more of the common ones. The first thing we have is a divide by zero error message, and this is exactly as it sounds. If you go back to math, you can't divide by zero, it just doesn't work. So in this formula, I have a XLOOKUP formula, and I'm looking up the amount from the sales for the specific person, and then I'm trying to divide it by the Q1 targets. So you can see right here that these last three don't have a target, and that's why we can't divide by them. And of course, with every single one of these, make sure you actually understand where the error message is coming from. But to fix it, all you have to do is wrap it in an if error formula. So if error, open parentheses, then put a comma, and you can put whatever you want. So if you want to say no target, for example, you can put that. And then instead of returning an error message, it will return no target. You don't have to have any verbiage at all. You can simply put a comma and press enter, and now it's a blank. And this is honestly recommended in my opinion, because if you have no target, then you're mixing different data types. So for example, all right here is a number, but if you had no target, it would be a text. So if you're trying to do aggregations, any calculations, could make things a little bit more difficult for you if you have numbers and text all within the same column. So up to you, but that's what I recommend. For the NA formula, you can see right here, we have Wowena Flint, and that is NA. If you look at the error message, it says, did not find the value for Wowena Flint in the XLOOKUP evaluation. So step one here is to look to see if there's any misspelling, if this is a new person. Realistically, right here, this is a misspelling. So if I type Rowena, then we're going to have all the results. But let's pretend this is a new person and Wowena does not exist. In the XLOOKUP formula itself, there's a built-in function to handle missing values. So if you put a comma, it goes to missing values. And once again, you can put whatever you want. So inside quotes, you could put no results. And then just like last time, you'll get that text. Once again, if you're trying to do aggregations, that could mess things up. So I recommend simply putting a blank and calling it a day. Then we can drag these over. Now, for VLOOKUP, there is no built-in functions to have any sort of handling for missing values. So this time we're going to put if NA, open parentheses, and this will work the same way as the if error message. The only difference is instead of it being if error encompassing all different types of errors, it's only going to work if the error is a NA error. So that way if there's another issue that pops up that's not NA, it will flag as whatever error that is, but this works for NA. So we're going to do same thing, so no result, and now we have no result, or just like last time, we can simply put it blank and have it blank. So that's one way that NA pops up. Another way that NA pops up is if the arguments are different sizes, and you can see that that's the case right here. So if you look, it says arguments are different sizes. If you look at our formula, we have XLOOKUP and we have A2, so we're trying to look up Alistair Fox. But we're trying to look it up from A2 to A20, and then we're trying to return C2 to C. So we need to do one or the other because this does not match this. There is no 20 at the end of C, or it needs to go all the way through A. So you can go either way. So we can go A2 to A. Those now match, so we can look up what Q2 is for Alistair Fox. Or alternatively, we could add C20, and it'll work the same way. The biggest thing is that the range has to match for it to work. For names, this one's actually one of the most simplest we have. If you see the name pop up, that means that there's a typo in your formula. So for example, instead of XLOOKUP, I put XLOOPUP. All you need to do is go in and fix it. So we'll change this to XLOOKUP, and now it works. Or if you try to use a formula that doesn't exist. So for example, XLOOKUPIF doesn't exist, and it says that there's an unknown function. So all you need to do is delete it, press enter, and you're good to go. Reference errors can mean a few different things, but typically it means that either one, it doesn't have the ability to execute the full formula, or it doesn't know what you're referencing. So for example, right here, we have an array formula, and this is set to fill in every single one of these options based off of the data in our sales tab. But as you can see here, it's not working. So if you hover over it, it says the array will not expand because it would overwrite data in B10. And it looks like here, B10, this was manually input. If we simply deleted this, now it has the ability to execute that formula in full. If you're used to Excel, it's kind of similar to the spill error, but it's different in Google Sheets. So if you were trying to update the data for that person, instead of typing in right here, you would need to go into the actual sales and make that change right here in Q1 where it's being referenced. Another example is for pivot tables. You'll see this a lot because things kind of grow over time. But it says that the array result was not expanded because it would overwrite data in cell A30. A30 is right here. If we delete that, now we have the ability to execute our pivot table with whatever we need to do. The value formula typically means that you're trying to perform a calculation or do something with a data type that doesn't allow that. For example, if I look at the formula right here, I'm taking B6 and I'm dividing it by A6. So we're dividing this number by this person's name. There is no value for Caspian rivers, so that's why it's saying that you can't divide it by a text. You can't turn Caspian rivers into a number. That's why you get the value error. If we were to change this to C6, on the other hand, it would work. So that's what's going on there. You'll more often see this when it comes to different measurements or different temperatures, things like that. So for example, right here, we're trying to take the number of ounces and divide that by 8 to see how many cups we have. But similar to last time, you can see that 40 ounces is a text and cannot be coerced into a number. It looks like a number though, but you can see that it's aligned to the left, meaning that it's a text. So the way around this is you can select whatever options you want, go to 1, 2, 3, custom number format, and then put whatever number it is and then the in that you want. So for example, I can put ounces. And now it's going to have whatever number and then ounces. Once I hit apply, I'll be able to change this to 40 instead of 40 ounces. And you'll still see it says 40 ounces. But instead of ounces being listed, it's simply added as part of the text formatting. And since it's only showing 40, we can divide that by 8. We can see this was 5 cups. And same thing right here. We can change that to a 50, for example. It's still going to show 50 ounces, but it's able to do the calculations because it's no longer part of a text. And as you can see, it's aligned now to the right side, which is an indication that it's a number, not a text. Formula parse errors, you'll probably run into this all the time. I know I do. It simply means that you left out part of the formula. So as you can see right here, we have a colorful A2 through A20, but it's all black when it comes to A to A and B to B. If you look right here, there's no comma. So it's just joining everything together. And that's where the issue is. So if I put a comma, you'll see those turn into color. I press enter, and now the formula is able to execute. Instead of having this formula parse error, it doesn't know what to do with the formula because it's not a full formula. Missing data source is exactly as it sounds. Sometimes it shows as missing data source error. Other times it simply shows as a reference error. So for example, if we were to delete the sales tab, which is what everything's pulling from on that tab, everything is now a reference error because if you look right here, it's trying to reference a tab called sales. That sales tab no longer exists, so it doesn't know what to reference anymore. So sometimes it will show up as unresolved sheet name sales. Sometimes it's missing data source. It kind of depends on what Google decides to do at the time. And that's everything. So that's how to troubleshoot the divide by 0 error message in a name, reference, value, formula parse error, missing data source. And this should give you enough knowledge to know what to do whenever you see these error messages pop up to keep moving forward. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions and like and comment for more.